Hi Karma. So this is one of your pieces of Moldavite that we're going to send through, put through the lab here.
What a piece it is. Oh my goodness, what a beauty.
It is. I've been sitting here staring at it, and it has a really pretty cool shape. So it has this dish shape in the back. It has all this this bubble, exposed bubble texture. And then in the front, it has these rigid lines in it. So this is a Chlum piece of Moldavite. It's pretty cool. So the first thing we do, I'm sorry, let me back up a second. So the first thing we do when we validate Moldavite is we look at the surface characteristics and the physical characteristics of it. And then we'll take it through and measure the density, and then we'll put it underneath the microscope and look inside of it for bubbles and inclusions. But you know, this is something that everyone can do at home, is just kind of do a physical inspection. You can see this has, maybe you can zoom in here a bit, babe. And it has such wonderful texture. It's really a pretty neat piece. In this station, I measure it and weigh it. So this one's 45 millimeters by about 25 millimeters and 11.8 grams, or about 59 grams. It is it's a nice size one. I think it's pretty neat. The texture in the back is open bubbles, and the texture in front is some open bubbles, but it has that characteristic ridge line on it.
And what's cool is it's got that narrower piece where, so you get that beautiful apple green on the left, and then the deep color.
Yeah,
so it has like a
You're right, babe. So let's talk about that. So one of the things we're going to look for when you look at Moldavite is it, what's the glossiness, and is it shiny, or is it glass-like, or does it have this
Heineken beer?
Yeah,
or Budweiser beer. Which one is it?
The fake ones kind of look like maybe a Heineken beer bottle. They have that kind of gloss to it, but this has a nice matte texture to it.
It's like satin.
It is kind of a satiny. But what we do is we actually compare. So over here I have some known Moldavites from different spew fields, and what we do is we compare them to that and look at the textures. And now, the thicker they are, this is a pretty thick piece, and you can see this texture in the back is different than the texture in the front. But you can see the color, and you can see we can compare it to other known Moldavites. Even this one's a good Moldavite. This one's a little shinier, but that's about the same
gloss. Yeah.
Same gloss. You can see some of them have a little bit of less of a gloss, but that's about the same gloss there.
So surface ones are kind of less shiny, huh?
Yeah, and it's about the same thickness, and so it also has about the same translucency. So when you look through it, but the thicker they are, the darker they'll be, and you can see in this area where it's thin, it's pretty light in color. But what we're really doing is looking at the color, the texture here, and again, this is something everyone can do. And I have a lot of pieces here. Well, not me, but Sandra has a lot of pieces that we can compare.
And I want those back.
They stay in my lab, don't they?
No.
Yeah, they're kind of fun to play with. And I get a lot of different materials and a lot of different Moldavite to compare to analyze. So I have to have a bunch here to compare to, and that's not Moldavite. All right, Sandra's saying that I'm going too long. She's giving me the nudge here. Okay, so in the first station,
it's not a Netflix video.
we look for color and texture, and these both are clearly the right color and texture. Okay, so let's slide over here to this next station. And what we're looking for here, let me clear my calculator out. What we're looking for here is the density of the Moldavite. And so when you talk about density, you're talking about how much it weighs for a certain volume. So if you had a balloon and a piece of iron, a piece of steel, and they were the same size, obviously the steel is denser than the balloon. So its weight for that same volume is different. So that's what we're looking at here. So Moldavite has a particular density, and actually real Moldavite from this spew field is about 2.27 to 2.46, but mostly centered around 2.35. And sometimes it can vary just a little bit in this range because of the different bubbles inside of here. Okay, so the way we do this, the first thing we do is we measure the weight of it dry. Oops, let's drop that. And we record that. That is 11, that's called the dry weight of the Moldavite, and that is 11.866 grams. And then we take it and we weigh it. This is kind of a sophisticated scale. I need to stand up here a moment, Sandra, and so I can get this in here correctly. And we weigh it on this.
It's got a little table or.
Yeah, and I can see I have some air bubbles in there, so it's going to be a little off. You can call it a hammer. But this actually measures hydrostatic specific gravity. It's an analytical balance with. Okay. So our number.
Moving on, do the math, and yes or no.
So then we record the wet weight, and we're going to record it right here, 6.862. And I'm going to take this number here, 11.866, and transfer it down here. So the calculation is the dry weight of the Moldavite divided by the dry weight minus, we're going to call it a wet weight, but it's really calculating the volume of the Moldavite. So then we plug it into a calculator, and it is 11.866 minus 6.862. And we get, so I'm doing the bottom calculation first, which is 5.004. So I'm going to take 11.866 and divide it by 5.004. Take 11.866 divided by 5.004.
We'll fast forward this part.
And we come up with the density, which is 2.37. And see,
Perfect.
it is. It's right at the center of that target. So this is another way of confirming that it's not a fake piece of Moldavite. The Heineken beer bottle usually is much higher than this. So in the 2.55 range, 2.65
Can you
range.
tell by holding them?
You can't. You can feel it, but you can't tell by holding them. You can't tell it. But I will put a hack online where you can do this at home for about $12.
I've seen you do that.
Yeah, for about $12 and a couple of solo cups, you can actually do this at home. So let me get this out of here and dry it off, and we'll go to the next area, which is under the microscope. I'm going to put this on the tower here. Put this one away. And this is the fun part. So I'm going to take just a moment to set the microscope. This is that wonderful piece that we took through the inspection process and measured the density. So let me mark that off here. The density was 2.37. And what we're going to do now is what Miss Sandra calls the fun part. She ignores all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah, it's yawn.
But that stuff's important. Yeah, it's yawn.
Well, I like the specific gravity because it really does, you know.
It's kind of interesting. But
Well, no, it's definitive. I can't say it's interesting.
Okay. Okay.
But
so
looking inside is always.
Let's look at, wow. Okay. Sorry about that. Maybe I'll pause that. I got boo-boo on my finger. So this is the surface of your Moldavite. I'm pretty far zoomed in. We can zoom out a little bit and take some up here, macroscopic view. You getting this, babe?
Mm-hmm. That's the surface.
That is the surface. I can move it around. There's the edge. Ooh, what a cool edge. Isn't that kind of cool edge?
It is.
I can turn the light out. So when it gets really bright, that's just the thinner areas. Okay.
So I'm going to remind him to take pictures.
Oh, okay. I'll take a picture. So I can snap a picture right here. There we go.
Screenshot, you know.
Yes. So now we have a picture for that. And so this is the surface of Moldavite, and what we want to do is we're going to look deep inside of the Moldavite. And the very, very best way to do that is to polish the surface of the Moldavite. But Miss Sandra,
you ruin it.
Miss Sandra never lets me do that. But what I can do is we use this fluid that has a refractive index that matches the refractive index of the Moldavite, and it washes the texture of the Moldavite out. So if you had like a matte surface, it would do the same thing. And then we can take a deeper look into the moldavite. Wow, this piece kind of has a hump to it. So some pieces are more difficult than others. And this one's going to be a challenge. And you can see it's dripping down onto my microscope lens. Or, not what, apologies.
Light cover.
My white cover, thank you. Okay, so you can see some junk moving around. This is, I got some air bubbles and stuff trapped in there when I was doing that, in the fluid. But now we can zoom in. Let me turn the weight down. There's a little thin spot there. We can zoom in and we can already see the bubbles in it. Forget that one. You can see the bubbles down inside of here. So let's go in to the moldavite. Wow, I don't have that whole thing piece covered, do I? You know what it is? It's running off because...
Wouldn't you change the angle
Yeah, I am. I'm doing that. It's a good idea, baby.
of the mold? So it's
Yeah, I was.
so it's flat this way.
Yeah, I was. You're absolutely right. Let's go right here. And I put a little more fluid on there so it stays on there. It's been kind of running off. There we go. Alrighty. Turn this up. And you can already see, forget the debris coming across here. You might not even be able to see that in the camera, but you can see.
Oh yeah, we can.
You can see the bubbles down inside of here.
Now that big black one. That one.
Yeah, there's a bubble here and then there's a cavity right there. So there's a big bubble right here and there's a cavity. And as I change the depth on the microscope, we're going in and closer. I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so you saw more of the area there. But now as we zoom in, you can focus on different depths of the moldavite. Let's zoom in a little further. I want to see the stress lines, oops, that you can see right here. Hold on one sec. So now here's all those stress lines that build up inside the moldavite as it's in different directions. You can see all this. All these are stress lines as the moldavite is cooling. So as that meteorite hit in Germany and spewed out all this molten material up towards the Czech Republic, the material was flying through the air. It was molten, and it's cooling off. And it cools off even after it landed, but as it's cooling off, it's locking in this stress, and that's what these stress lines are. And it also locked in certain contaminants, and Miss Sandra calls them the wigglies, but there's a really cool German name for them. But we can see these contaminants, these wigglies, all over the place inside of here. Here's some right up in here. So let me zoom in and find a really cool wiggly. I might have to move it around a little bit. So the stress lines, when you get too zoomed in, the stress lines tend to hide those wigglies. But here's another one right over here. It's kind of cool. I'm going to move this around a little bit, babe, and push this in. You can see bubbles all over the place. So I'm moving it up.
What are those lines right there on the
These right
center?
here?
Yeah.
Those are still stress lines. These are still pretty straight stress lines.
It's like an alien landscape.
It is like an alien landscape. Isn't that kind of cool? And Miss Sanders sees all kinds of
Like clouds,
Yeah,
like there's a bunny and
yeah, it's kind of. I endured that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joshing.
The story of our life.
I
Endures me.
Endure. Yes.
Endure. That's what. Well, no.
Yes.
No.
Yes. This was a bit tricky to do, like several of them as I have. It has such a high texture, high surface crown to it that the fluid runs off. So a little more difficult to get to.
Okay, we're getting ready for a picture soon.
Some of these areas.
There you
Oh,
go.
look at this. So here we go.
Hold on, see if I can zoom in a little bit further.
There's a contaminant right in here. A contaminant. That's what they really.
Take a picture.
That's what they really are.
We'll send these to you.
Yeah, and so you can see there's no fluid on this one. Here's a bubble deep inside of here. There's bubbles here, and so that's a bubble towards the other end of the surface, and they're here. And this one's kind of elongated.
Look at that long line.
This one here.
Yeah.
Yeah, stress line.
Wow.
Yeah. So this one has a really pretty cool texture to it.
So take a picture.
Okay, I'll take a picture. You do have to remind me, babe. I might flip this one over if you don't mind and look on the other side.
Oh yeah, because then it's got like a bowl shape.
It does have a bowl shape. I should have thought of that.
You did take a picture?
I did take a picture.
Okay, so that's the picture.
And I'm actually on the picture. That's why the video is frozen.
Okay.
You know, let's see.
So you need more stuff.
I do. I need more stuff. More fluid, more stuff. Wow, isn't that surface really cool? And a lot of times, I showed you that over there earlier, a lot of times they have different textures on different sides because of what they were exposed to in the ground.
When they came back down, if they weren't like hardened.
Right, if they were still molten, right, and what they were exposed to there. Boy, it still has a hard time holding on to that. I am making a mess on my scope. That's okay. That's what it's focusing in here. And I see, some wigglies in here, some contaminants in here. And then this surface is on the surface. This area here is on the surface that isn't washed out. But, this side's pretty cool. It has a completely different texture to it. And look at all these. So these stress lines look completely different on this side. And that's kind of cool because now you can kind of find contaminants a little bit easier.
Looks like headphones down there.
Headphones?
Right there.
Right where? I don't see it. I see
the bottom,
I don't see
middle.
Where? What?
Like stretched out headphones.
Right here? Oh, silly. Let's go really far in on this one. Right
Yeah,
here.
in the deep part.
Yeah.
It's like a wrinkle there.
Yeah, that's your headphones down there, down at the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually a contaminant in there. It's kind of cool. And actually, the contaminant, the wiggly, connects two bubbles there, which is kind of neat. Wow. Let me go down further in. Stress.
So more in the center. The stress is more in the center.
Yeah. And it hides so much stuff when you just kind of focus on it like that.
And he great. I don't have to learn all this stuff. He does it for me.
Okay. Well, anyway, yeah, all the characteristic bubbles. It's kind of a cool piece.
I promise the next one won't be so long.
Okay. All right. This, Karma, is one of your pieces of Moldavite that is quite awesome. And Miss Sender will clean this up. But it definitely has the bubbles, has the flow lines, has the...
However you pronounce that. Letherotterati.
Or as Miss Sender would say, the wigglies. So we'll definitely keep this with this page here. So here's your density and your analysis. Okay, babe. All set?
All set? Rocks to rings.
Rocks2Rings. Yes.
Bye now.